And we're coming to you live from the old Fort Tough studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcasts across the country on CBS Sports Network. And wherever you are in the free Odyssey app. Good Wednesday morning. Boomer somewhere in New York. I think he landed about a half hour ago. He is planning on coming in here at some point this morning. But until he does, I've got Jerry Recco with me. Good morning, Jerry. How are you?
Jay, what is up? Boomer's going to be shot out of a cannon when he gets here.
Yeah, well, you weren't so sure that he was going to show up yesterday when we talked about this.
Me?
Or who was it?
No,
was it Eddie
me.
then,
it was
maybe?
Eddie.
Oh, Eddie said he wasn't so sure he was going to show up. I did talk to Boomer yesterday on the phone when he was out in Vegas, and he will be here.
Yeah.
And he'll be here for two reasons. The first reason is the Rangers won in double overtime. The second reason is that it's Precious Achua time for the New York Knicks.
That is
he
true,
could
too.
not miss today.
That's true.
He could not miss today. And the Rangers take a 2-0 lead in dramatic fashion. And, I mean, this Rangers team, man, I really thought that the Carolina Hurricanes, especially when they scored those two goals at the end of the first period, that they were going to take control of this. They were going to go back 1-1. It was going to be a fight. It still could go 7. But Igor Shesterkin was the star last night. And some of the saves he made, I mean, was it over 50 saves that he ended up making? And then in critical crunch time at the end of the third period, a couple of big stops in overtime. And the Rangers could have won this game 3 or 4 different times before the Trocheck goal in the second overtime. But they are up 2-0. They're in commanding lead. And basically, if you're the Hurricanes, here's the one thing that Rod Brindamore has to tell his team: stop taking penalties. Because you tie the game, the Rangers do, on the power play, and they win the game on the power play, and they have the best power play in the NHL for most of the year, and that's how it worked out last night as well.
Yeah, I mean, this team, they're fun to watch. I was watching the game with my wife for at least the second period.
You watch hockey with Kim?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
She likes she doesn't mind. She likes hockey. She likes sports. So anytime I watch something, she'll go inside in another room sometimes and put a show on, but especially the playoffs. She watched the entire second period with me, and she did ask the question, which is funny given the fact the way we reference it all the time. She's like, why is hockey not more popular? This is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's fast, it's up and down. She also she's been to, my God, she's probably been to 30 or 40 games with me, so she understands the game too, which does help. But the hitting, the chippiness to it, just everything about it last night is what you want. And you're right. Frederik Andersen was fabulous in this game, too, because the game could have ended a couple of different times. But Shesterkin was, I mean, ridiculous. And, I mean, what can you say? The Rangers score not only the game-tying goal with Kreider, but the game-winning goal, too. They come off what? Not deflections, but off rebounds and loose pucks and jamming it in and being in the right spot at the right time. Even the goal, too, wasn't off a deflection or a rebound, but the goal by Lafreniere to tie the game at 2 off a beautiful feed. The Hurricanes have played really well. How about the first 10 minutes of the second period? I swear to God, I thought the Hurricanes were skating 7-on-5 because the Rangers couldn't get the puck out of their zone. They had zero offense. The Hurricanes were just pummeling the net, and Shesterkin was outstanding, and then the Rangers come back. They get the goal. Just a hell of a win. 2 games, 2 really good teams, and the Rangers had the better goalie and the more opportune plays, and they were in front of the net at the right time, and here they are up 2-0.
Yeah, and that stretch you were talking about where it felt like the ice was tilted for the Hurricanes reminded me a lot of that Islanders series where there were full periods where the Carolina Hurricanes looked like they had a man or 2-man advantage on 5-on-5, and that's been one of the issues with the Rangers throughout the year. You hear Boomer lament about it all the time, about how they're so great on the power play. They're even great with the penalty kill with scoring opportunities, but they haven't been great 5-on-5, but they've been good enough now to win every single game they have played in the postseason up until this point. They are 6-0. And
8-0 if you go back to the end of the season.
Yep, that is true.
Hell of a winning streak.
It is. And you talk about the Carolina goalie Anderson. Yes, he was spectacular for in real crunch time with the game tied, where there was 2 Zibanejad opportunities that he stopped, and then another one prior to that in the third period, and a 2-on-1 situation. But he let in that bad goal where he was he was flopping backwards and had no idea what the hell he was doing, and that was, to me, really the difference, other than the penalties that the Hurricanes were taking, was the fact that Igor didn't have one of those moments last night. He didn't have that breakdown or that crappy goal that he let in. So this team now in full command, I wouldn't expect the Hurricanes to lay down like the Capitals, who stunk.
Yeah, they're too good. I agree with you.
I mean, I would not be shocked if this series came back to the Garden 2-2, but the Rangers have to look at it like one more win. I know it's hockey and things change. We've seen the Rangers come back 3-1. I actually watched it in Pittsburgh when the Penguins were up 3-1. The Rangers came back and won 3 straight to win the series, Game 7, out there in Pittsburgh. But, I mean, they got to look at it, take one from Carolina there, and then just finish it off at some point. And that's really what it is. Just take one of those games, get up 3-0 or 3-1, and then just finish them off, and let's focus on the Bruins or the Panthers after that. Because when you're up 2-0 and you're in full command and you come off a double overtime stinger, like think about the Hurricanes, how well they played, how they're leading in the third period, and in double overtime lose. Now they got to limp back down 0-2. I mean, this is step on the throat spot there, Jerry Recco.
Sure is, and it's so similar in a lot of ways to what the Knicks have done with the Pacers in Game 1, with the Sixers in Game, where you walk out of there, if you were the losing team, the Sixers and the Pacers, saying, damn, like we just played really well and we lost, kind of like the Islanders. They played really well and lost. The Hurricanes have got to be, I mean, they're home by now, but they've got to have gotten on that plane saying, Jesus, we just lost 2 games. We could have won both, and yet couldn't put these guys away in this game, couldn't win Game 1. And if you're the Rangers, they played well, and yet they were the better team overall for the full length of the game. So I think for the losing team of the Hurricanes, tough to leave the Garden with 2 straight losses. And for the Rangers, I agree with you. Go there, take Game 3. Series ain't over, not in hockey, but pretty damn close if they can win Game 3.
I know a lot of Ranger fans are cautious, and everybody's like Boomer with the superstition, and CeeLo wears the same jersey every day for game day, and all that's going on. And for us, who did not grow up Ranger fans and are not Ranger fans, I think it's easier for us to see and want to believe that this team is going to go as far as possible. You've been talking about it now for the entire year, how this is a Stanley Cup team. So for us, it's easy to say. I think for the Ranger fan, they kind of think that in the back of their mind, but they're afraid to verbalize it, because they know that this Hurricanes team is too good, and then also whatever team comes out of that next series or that other series in the East is going to be no slouch. But, I mean, I'd like to actually take a look at the Stanley Cup odds now that the Rangers are up 2-0. I wonder if they're the favorite to come out of the East right now and where they are in the full Stanley Cup picture.
I understand betting odds aren't what we're watching. Sometimes they kind of confuse you, but they won the President's Trophy. They were the best team in the NHL all season long. Okay, fine. You want to tell me they were the underdog going into this series? They're up 2-0. How the hell are they not the favorite now to at least get to the Stanley Cup coming out? It just doesn't make sense if they're not.
Yeah, so they came into this series underdogs against the Carolina Hurricanes. They are now up 2-0 in the series. They are tied for the shortest odds, meaning the best, to win the Stanley Cup with the Oilers and the Avalanche. So that means that in the East, they are the favorites to make
and
it
they should be.
To the Stanley Cup with the way that things have played out here in the first couple of games.
It's just, it's what, and the reason I've said what I've said for months and months and months is it just seems to me that they are, and I'm not watching the West. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you I am. But I've seen enough of the Rangers this year. I've certainly seen enough of the Devils this year. And I've seen enough of the Eastern Conference. Not a hockey expert by any stretch, but this is as complete a team as there is in this league. And it goes from special teams to the goalie to they're just really good. I don't know if they're a great team. I don't know if they're going to turn out to be a Stanley Cup team. But for me, there are not many deficiencies to this team. And that's why they win at the clip that they do. And it's been aside from one bad stretch this season where I think they lost, I think it was 5 of 7, I think. I have to go back and look. They had one stretch, and every team has it. They won. That was it. And every other time, it has been a whole hell of a lot of winning for this team, and they know how to play with success, and they know how They know how to beat teams that are, on the same level as them as we've seen these first couple of games.
Yeah, and if the power play is going to be as lethal as it is, they're just going to be very, very tough to beat. They've been so consistent with that. They've been very little slumps throughout the year, and certainly not in the postseason when it comes to scoring on the power play and the game-tying goal, the game-winning goal with the man advantage. So they are just cruising when it comes to that with ultimate confidence. The other big news of yesterday comes with the Knicks, and Mitchell Robinson now going to miss the rest of the postseason with the stress fracture again in the what is it, a stress, what do they even call it? I don't know.
Stress fracture.
Was it a stress fracture?
I believe that's what it was called, yeah.
So, and it's in the same ankle that he had broken earlier in the year and had the surgery on it, and it
sucks.
It really does, and I feel bad for the guy, but I mean he's just someone you can't count on. And I think Tibbs knows that. I think the organization knows that. I think that's probably, they brought in the same trade with OG Anunoby, Precious Achiuwa, because they knew that at some point Mitchell Robinson was either not coming back or he'd come back and get hurt again. So it's frustrating, and I don't want to kill a guy for getting hurt, and part of the reason he might have gotten hurt is that Joel Embiid grabbing of the ankle, and I don't know if he was alluding to that in his post on X yesterday saying that he's going to get revenge. I don't know exactly what that meant, but I mean, it just sucks. You can't count on the guy. I mean, you watch him and you're just waiting for another injury, and now they're going to be without him. Now, he only played 11 minutes in game one. I do think that this series and the pace was going to keep him on the bench maybe a little bit more than the Sixers series where they needed him to get in front of Embiid, a slower Embiid, one that couldn't jump. But I mean, this obviously hurts. I mean, there's no two ways about it that your bench is getting thinner. You don't have as many good players, and there's no way to really sugarcoat it. But I'll tell you, I don't think it's a death blow to them by any stretch of the imagination. But this was bad news.
This hurts. I think this would have hurt more had they been in the second round against Philly right now, and then not having him against Embiid. You got through Philly. I'm with you. There's no way to sugarcoat it. It's not easy. It's not good. There's nothing good about it. But when you look at the way your starting five is putting up 46, 47, 48 minutes, and you're getting very little production out of the bench. Production. You're not going to the bench very often, and you haven't had to. It doesn't change anything for me. I still think they're good enough to get through the East. I still think they're good enough to get to the NBA Finals, or at least get to the Eastern Conference Finals, where I'm expecting them to play Boston. It does hurt. It does cut down a little bit on their bench, but for the most part, they ain't playing that. What did he play? 12 minutes the other night? 13 minutes?
11.
Okay, it's not like he was out there for 32 minutes, and he was a major piece to that win the other night, and they still found a way to win. So it sucks. There's nothing good about it. I do think part of this is maybe he came back a little too soon. I don't know. Maybe it was the Embiid thing in Philly. Not sure. But you can at least put to rest the fact that he's playing anymore, because we know 6 to 8 weeks to be reevaluated. He's done.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because you know that he works hard. You know that he's a good guy. You know that he wants to win. All of those things. But it's so frustrating when you can't count on a guy to be healthy.
Yeah.
And not all of it's his fault. I mean, these are kind of fluky, weird things. He's a 7-foot guy. It's going to happen to guys that are that big. It's just so frustrating because if this guy had stayed healthy for the majority of his career, how much better could the Knicks have been throughout the last couple of years? More wins, better defensively. It's just, and they've made up for it. And maybe this ends up being a blessing in disguise because Boomer's guy, Precious Achiuwa, is going to get these minutes, and maybe all of a sudden he becomes some sort of revelation for them. It's possible.
It's very possible. I think that the question I would have for you would be, you've said this many times, the way the things have lined up for them. So they've disposed of the 76ers and Joel Embiid. They didn't have to deal with Giannis, who got knocked out in the first round. You're looking at a Pacer team, and I'm even going to throw the Celtics in there. Donovan Mitchell, wonderful player. I don't see Cleveland winning that series. I just don't. Because I do think Cleveland without Donovan Mitchell might have been a little bit more of an issue. But when you look at the Pacers and the Celtics, are you concerned about the play of the big man?
No, because, I mean, they don't really have, like, Miles Turner is a guy who's not going to be bullying you all the time. He shoots a three. He's not. No.
It's different style of play. And where Mitchell Robinson, I think, really helps is on the interior with the shot blocking and the rebounding. I mean, rebounding always helps, of course. But I think you'll be looking at, in the Pacers and likely the Celtics, two teams that are going to shoot 1,000,000 threes, and really it's predicated on guard play. So while it hurts, it's not great. Like I said, and I think like you say, it's not killing them in terms of what they're trying to do.
If they do lose tonight, though, there's going to be this sky is falling feeling with Knicks fans, I think, for the first time. Now, I didn't have it with Game 5. A lot of people did. I thought they were going to come back and win Game 6. They should have won that game in Game 5, but I just thought that they were just going to beat the Sixers, and Embiid was toast, and you just felt it. But I think that with the Mitchell Robinson injury, the fact that they didn't play great in Game 1, if they lost tonight going back to Indiana, 1-1, and Indiana plays their game, there's going to be a lot of anxious Knicks fans after tonight. So every game is critical, but I don't feel like, even as crazy as that series was with the Sixers, I never felt the roller coaster nature of they're going to win, they're going to lose, they're going to win, they're going to lose. If they lose tonight, that'll be the first time that I feel that. Like, man, there's a chance that they lose this series.
The Pacers are good. I mean, and there was, even listening to the radio station a little bit yesterday after the Game 1 win, there was even a feeling of that by some. But you know what? Just go out and win your game tonight. And even if you don't, I mean, this team's been really good on the road this season. They won in Philly. I wouldn't be concerned. I really wouldn't be concerned about the Knicks until the other team had 3 wins.
Yeah.
That's when I would be worried.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, if they lost Game 2 and lost Game 3, I still would have every confidence in Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart that they would go out and get things even. Now, you go down 3-1, I would be concerned. Down 3-2, concerned. But until the other team gets to 3, I am not concerned with this team.
The Knicks and Rangers went 4-0 the last time in the first round with the 4 games at the Garden. The Knicks try to do it again and finish it off. It's now 3-0 as the Rangers win last night. The Knicks will have their opportunity tonight to go up 2-0. Boomer will be here to talk about his guy, Precious, and the Rangers coming up in, I don't know, maybe less than 2 hours. I'm not so sure. He was on a red eye. He just couldn't miss today with all of everything's coming up Boomer this morning. So he felt like he had to come in. So I think he landed at like 5:30 and is going to take a shower and come in here. So that's going to be something else. So,
and I get to go.
Yes, you do. I get, whatever you want to do, really,
I don't
right?
know. I have no idea.
Well, check with the brand manager, see what you're allowed to do.